Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto breaking news update. And today we got some really big news, or rather a couple of really big news updates regarding Boruto. One about the manga, one about the anime. Both of these things are connected, so sit through the entire video, which if you're here for the anime news, then I've got an answer to your prayers that you've been asking Hagoromo every night when you've been holding on to your Naruto and Boruto t-shirts. Can I get a holy Hagoromo up in this MF right here? Because after Boruto's anime ended 2 years ago, a lot of you guys have been asking what's going on with the anime. But before we go further, as a quick reminder, the chapter does drop on the 20th this month, so this Sunday. But as of this recording, we only have the text leaks and no scans for the chapter, so the chapter review editor can't get started on the review yet. So depending on if we have leaks or not, the review might be out either on the 20th or a couple of days after the 20th, since the editor needs a full 2 days to maintain the quality that you guys have seen via the Two Blue Vortex chapter reviews. So I thank you for your continued support for those reviews, as well as for your patience and your understanding. So jumping right into it, we're going to get with the Boruto manga news out of the way first before we tackle the anime. Again, both of these things are connected. The manga news is quicker to get through and it's a lot less complicated. So as you know, when Boruto's manga went on a time skip, the manga did something that is not as common that you see with long-running manga series. It just rebooted the name of the franchise altogether. It is a different IP. Whereas One Piece had a big time skip and Dragon Ball had a 5-year time skip between Goku beating Piccolo and Raditz showing up, and Naruto had that 2.5-year time skip between part 1 and part 2, each of those series stayed under one name in Japan. One Piece is 100 volumes and counting. Dragon Ball stayed Dragon Ball in Japan. There is no Dragon Ball Z manga in Japan. It's only 42 volumes of Dragon Ball, and Naruto stayed only with Naruto. There is no Naruto Shippuden manga. Only 72 volumes of Naruto, 73 counting Naruto Gaiden. But Boruto chose to do the JoJo Bizarre Adventure thing, and it just labeled it a different series. Well, Boruto 2 Blue Vortex has officially been given its first circulation update, and the manga, it has crossed a major milestone. 1 million copies in circulation, and physical and digital, which that is good considering that Boruto runs in V-Jump magazine, one of the more expensive magazines that Shueisha puts out. V-Jump, for reference, only prints 130,000 copies per issue, so 130,000 copies each month, versus Weekly Shonen Jump prints 1.3 million copies each issue, 4 times a month. And it is considerably cheaper, a lot cheaper. So it's a big deal that in Japan, the manga has sold 500,000 copies in physical copies. It'll be 400,000 if you just want to pull up the Oricon chart in terms of the sales data, because we have some disingenuous a-holes out there. Oricon only counts up to week 9 and 10 of the release, but obviously sales do not stop there. They keep going. When you include the backlogs for Boruto volume 1 through 3 for 2 Blue Vortex, and volume 4 is officially entering into that backlog territory starting next week, that's where that 500,000 physical copy number comes into account. France is just getting 2 Blue Vortex last summer. France is Boruto's second biggest market, and the United States just started getting the manga towards the end of last year. The US is a much smaller market compared to France when it comes to Boruto, but 1 million copies in circulation between digital and print is a really big deal. That's not 1 million total copies sold, but that's irrelevant. People telling you otherwise are gaslighting you. When people bring up One Piece is at 516 million copies in circulation, nobody bats an eye. Or Dragon Ball Super being 12 million copies in circulation, nobody bats an eye. But with Boruto, well, they didn't actually sell that much. You can go somewhere else with that gaslighting. That's everything printed, physically sold, and digitally. Circulation numbers are what Shueisha and other publishers report, which 4 volumes in 1 million with no anime, it's a big deal, which that brings me to the next point, because doing this without an anime is a really big deal. Boruto's anime just got a major update, and this is coming directly from Studio Pierrot itself, or Pierrot. So if you'll recall, a couple months ago, I told you guys there appeared to be movement on the anime side of Boruto, because Boruto's editor that's assigned by Shueisha to the series, that's the guy that's behind series like Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, getting movies for short manga arcs, or getting movie releases for the Dan Da Dan anime, and getting movie releases for Spy Family, and how I pointed out the remainder of Boruto Part 1 had enough for a movie once you trim the fat for the adaptation, which the anime was going to do anyway, in terms of trim stuff out. But also that on the desk of one of the animators, I believe the director for Boruto, and he also happens to be a longtime veteran of the Naruto franchise, there was a copy of V-Jump magazine featuring the Two Blue Vortex version of Boruto, where we see him working on storyboards or something Boruto related. And it's not uncommon for directors to have the manga or magazine to reference when working on material for an anime. And for further reference, this was an issue from 2024. Well, my thoughts about the anime being in pre-production starting at least at the bare minimum the end of last year or sometime early this year, it just went from just mere thoughts to now there are alarm bells being sounded off. For the first time in 3 years, Studio Pierrot, the company that produces Boruto's anime, has updated the Boruto section of their website, and they have confirmed that the second part of Boruto is underway, with TV Tokyo, for obvious reasons, still being the broadcast location for it, since TV Tokyo has been part of the Naruto production committee for over 20 years now. Boruto, by extension, is a part of that. Is there a date? That's probably what you're asking. So there is not a concrete date, but here's why you should care. Here's why this is a big deal. If Pierrot has updated their website to state what they have never stated before on their website, which is that Boruto Part 2 is confirmed for an anime release, then it means that something's being done with that IP, which lines up with the observation I made in the video a couple months ago, where the studio gave a super in-depth behind-the-scenes look for that documentary that aired in Japan. The conclusion was that Boruto might be in pre-production stages, because for the director of Boruto's anime to be using current materials at his work table, that's a really big deal. Where this gets even more interesting, and where more of your interest should be piqued, is that we know the Naruto team, which, contrary to what people tell you on Reddit and Twitter, they'll tell you that Naruto animators, they stayed away from Boruto, and that it's a breeding ground for new animators. Like, Naruto was never a breeding ground for new animators. It wasn't an entire crop of freelance animators, because some of your favorite animators who cut their teeth as working on Naruto for the first time, who worked on iconic fight sequences from both Naruto anime and some of your favorite Naruto movies, also worked on Boruto in extensive roles. What's interesting is that Boruto's anime ended a full 2 years ago, and a few big names have left Pierrot to work on other projects. That was why as soon as some of that stuff happened, I said, yeah, we're not getting the anime for the next couple of years. Well, one left to direct Blue Lock, and the other one left to direct Kaiju number 8. One of the best animators of Boruto, who also happens to be a longtime Naruto animator, has been working on Bleach, for instance. Those core staff who remain on the Naruto production line, which every anime at Studio Pierrot has its own production line. You're not seeing people in mass moving like, I gotta work on Black Clover today, gotta work on Bleach today, gotta work on Boruto today, gotta work on Kingdom tomorrow. That's not how it works. If you're on a production line, you're usually staying on that production line. You do have floaters, but for the most part, everyone that is on a production line stays there. So those core staff, they have been stuck on those 4 special Naruto episodes that were supposed to be out in fall 2023 that Masashi Kishimoto wrote, but due to the poor schedule, those episodes were started over from scratch. And at the mandatory company investor call, where you cannot lie at the investor call, at the top of that call last year, they stated those episodes should be out in 2025, assuming, of course, that everything stays on schedule, because they're being redone from scratch. But given Pierrot's words in their documentary, where they flat out stated that they are placing more emphasis on quality, I think it's very safe to say that those episodes, they are close enough to being done that pre-production for Boruto has started now. The president of Studio Pierrot has said, and it was stressed again to high hell in that documentary that aired on TV in Japan, that they have begun placing a lot more emphasis on matching the quality of shows that are out there. Some of your favorite battles, shonen, and etc. And that largely comes down to scheduling and the production committee, which are people like Shueisha, TV Tokyo, Bandai Namco, and other companies that invest in the Naruto IP, handing Studio Pierrot a solid schedule to work with. People blame Pierrot, saying that they ruined Black Clover, that they ruined Boruto. You don't need to be mad at Pierrot. You need to be mad at the production committee. That's what you need for Pierrot's words about wanting their anime to look good to come true. It's not about being weekly or seasonal. There's this common misconception that seasonal automatically equals better animation. That is false. That is a fallacy. Being blunt, that is a misinformed take. Case in point, both seasons of To Your Eternity, especially season 2, the highs of both of those seasons do not match animation quality for your average Boruto episodes. Boruto episode 175, for example, is better animated than some of your episodes that you had in My Hero Academia season 1, as well as the last season. Animation, not art. Despite one being seasonal and one being weekly, weekly anime episodes on a healthy schedule. For reference, this is an informed take here. For reference, a weekly anime episode on a healthy schedule, they take 3 to 4 months to produce. Like we saw with episodes in Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, 3 to 4 months on average. And the special episodes, in some case, they took up to 6 months to produce, or in some cases even longer. Which, as fans, you're likely starting to think in your head some of those special Naruto Shippuden, and Boruto episodes where you go, okay, I can see that took longer than average. So, pistol to my head, I still think the most likely outcome is that you're getting a movie for Boruto's remaining 3 volumes that the anime did not adapt, because there's enough repetitive stuff there that it can be cut and it can be combined with things like Boruto versus Kawaki and Damon versus Code being extended, and then you take the 18 months after that, or the 16 months, to start pre-production for a Boruto 2 Blue Vortex anime after that movie's been released. So say if pre-production has started now, like I am speculating, like I'm fairly certain, and you get the movie in summer 2026, you start pre-production at the end of that summer or fall and run the part 2 anime out during sometime in 2027. Likely say fall 2027 for a 13 to 14 episode run. Pierrot putting emphasis on quality is why I likely think this is to be the case, because there is a difference between art and animation, and being blunt, your average anime fan does not know the difference. I joke all the time, give it shiny colors and people call it peak. Hence, we see some of the takes like Bleach, 1000-Year Blood War anime saying that the highs are higher than the highs in the original Bleach anime in terms of animation, when that is false. It's more that the art is more consistent and it's got that shiny, glossy color sheen that anime fans are addicted to in modern anime. They care more about the art than animation. They can't tell the difference, despite there being more than its fair share when you watch certain anime that people love to suck off. There are more than their fair share of still frames, and at times the animation doesn't have weight behind it, but it's got some pretty artwork, particularly where you can see that there's a tight schedule that became obvious to the untrained eye. Looking at, say, Hell's Paradise, that was produced by everyone's favorite studio, MAPPA. Pierrot's sense of direction as being part of their commitment to raising the quality has basically been a focus on making the art more consistent, because being blunt, their studio, when you look at their catalog of weekly anime that they've done, strictly from an animation perspective, they're more fluid than a majority of the seasonal anime outside of special exceptions that we've gotten over the last 5 years. those special exceptions being Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1, and to a degree Solo Leveling, again, strictly from an animation perspective. I'm not talking about art. You want a really good example of consistent art, go look at Demon Slayer, which still has instances in every arc where you get moments outside of the fight scenes, which those are well animated, but you get moments outside of the fight scenes where you have still frames. There's barely any movement, like that scene where Tanjiro is crying out when Goku dies. That is stiff. The character acting in that is not good. And if you don't know what character acting is, ask me in the comment section and I can point you in direction of some really nice articles that go over the art of animation in terms of the 12 principles. And they also talk about character acting. Just hit me with a hashtag character acting so I can find it. When Akaza is running away, that is stiff, but you got some really nice cotton candy colors and some very pretty shiny art to look at. That being said, while seasonal anime again does not always equal better, I do want to say what I personally hope ends up being the case here now that we have confirmation via Pierrot's own website that part 2 is coming at an undisclosed date. If you go the 13 episode route, since the manga's monthly and one Boruto episode is roughly one chapter, it's my hope that number one, we don't get pointless ass episodes like Chocho judging a pie eating contest or Iwabe trying to find the mysterious ninja hamburger burglar who stole the Thunderburger's restaurant secret Thunderburger sauce. Respectfully, get the fuck out of here with that. No anime canon mini arcs. However, I'm not saying get away with anime canon altogether. I'm not saying that. I am saying you should take the approach that we've seen with Demon Slayer, with what it did with the Hashira training arc, and what Fire Force has done in the past, which is when you get to parts of the story and you see that there's room to expand, adapt 3 to 5 pages from the manga and then build out the remaining 15 minutes of material from the anime to build the remaining episode to enhance what is there. Don't go off the rails in some unrelated crap during that span. Literally just build on the plot points. With Demon Slayer, we saw this last season. It's a great example. We pretty much got a whole episode of bonus material with Tengen Uzui's training that he was given to Tanjiro and them. Because in the manga, it was literally only 1 or 2 pages. It was so short that I forgot it existed until I reread the manga for a video last year. And they did that again for a couple of other episodes that you see in the season. Or you do what Kenshin did with season 2 of its reboot anime during the Kyoto Disturbance arc, where you bring in the mangaka into the studio to write out a full episode start to finish that take place in the story that is so good that you wouldn't know it was filler if you're watching it. And in that instance, it was so damn good, I was questioning myself whether or not there was manga material that I myself as a hardcore Kenshin fan did not read, which that is what Bleach's next season is doing with Tite Kubo. A lot of those episodes that you'll be seeing in the next Bleach Core, they're supposed to be from Kubo himself. That format of filler and anime canon arcs that are disconnected from the story, that era is done. Fans, for the most part, do not want that. Think about almost every major anime that blew up over the last decade. Go back from 2015 to now. Almost every anime has something in common, from My Hero Academia to Demon Slayer to Jujutsu Kaisen to Frieren last year, Solo Leveling last year. They all follow the story for start to finish, and then for one episode or a few episodes, they don't necessarily do filler, but they adapt a few pages and then they expand on the story in a way where it feels like it belongs in the manga, and then it just moves all the way back to the manga story in the next episode. It does not lose a beat that way. That is the format that a Boruto anime needs. You can send Dinky, Awabi, Wasabi, Namida, and any other character who is not in the manga to the Shadow Realm. Let them go play in traffic while playing a game of drink the bleach carton while they watch those Chocho Butterfly Mode training episodes. Get their ass out of here. Now, obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Click here on the right to check out this new video from my Anime Explained channel, and keep in mind that the chapter review is being worked on.